It's another day, another time. Welcome to Sports Central, live and exclusive to Spectrum Television. My name is Isaac, and I'm excited to be back on the show this particular Tuesday morning to take you through the biggest stories making rounds in the biggest industry in the sporting world, particularly. Well, there's a lot on the plate this morning. We take a look at what's happening from tennis. Well, several tour-level competitions in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. There's one in France, and there's one in Qatar particularly. So we take a look at this tournament and how they're going down so far. For the women's tennis, we talk about what's going on in the Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championship as the ladies are putting up fine performances. Well, away from all of that, we take a look at what's happening from basketball. Well, Russell Westbrook leaves the LA Lakers, and guess where he's going to? The LA Clippers. We'll talk about that and so much more on the show this particular morning. Well, there's also football on the frequency. Today, you take a look at what's happening from the UEFA Champions League later tonight. Real Madrid travel to Anfield to take on Liverpool in what should be a repeat of last season's UEFA Champions League final. Well, these and many more from the crux of the conversation with you this morning. Well, before we get into all of this talk, let's take you through some news stories in Sports Wrap-Up. It's time. Welcome. Well, the conversation begins from tennis this morning. Brazilian Thiago Monteiro reached the second round at a tour-level event for the first time this season on Monday when he clawed past former Rio Open champion Dominic Thiem 6-1, 36-7-2 at the ATP 500 event. The 28-year-old, currently number 80 at the ATP Live rankings, is making his 7th appearance at the Day Court tournament in Brazil, with his best result being a quarterfinal run back in 2017. Monteiro will look to reach that stage again when he faces second-seed Cameron Norrie or Argentine lucky loser Juan Manuel Cerundolo in the second round. In the other action, Nicolas Jarry earned the biggest win of his season when he defeated number 18 seed Lorenzo Musetti 6-4, 6-1. While traveling to France, Alexander Bublik arrived at the Open 13 province chasing his maiden tour-level win of the season. The Kazakhstani dug deep to get the job done yesterday when he rallied to a 5-7, 6-3, 6-4 first-round victory against Filip Krajinovic in Marseille. With the win, Bublik extended his ATP head-to-head series, led against Krajinovic to 2 wins and no loss. The pair's previous clash also came on an indoor court in southern France, with Bublik a straight-set winner in Montpellier semi-finals last year en route to claiming his maiden ATP Tour title. The world number 50 would seek to build on Monday's win in the second-round meeting with 8th Marc-Andre Hosler or Gregor Barrère. Bublik is competing in the ATP 250 in southern France for the second time, having reached the semi-finals on tournament debut in 2020. Former world number 3 Stan Wawrinka, who first competed in Marseille 15 years ago, also qualified for the next round. The Swiss star defeated Belgian Zizou Berger 6-4, 6-7, 6-4 after 2 hours and 31 minutes. Well, let's talk about the ladies. Reigning Wimbledon champion Elena Rybakina clinched the spot in the second round of the Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championships by defeating another Grand Slam champion, Bianca Andreescu, 6-3, 6-4 yesterday. Number 9 seed Rybakina held off 2019 US Open champion Andreescu in 1 hour and 32 minutes using the power game that steered her to her 2022 Wimbledon title, as well as this year's Australian Open final. Rybakina will take on world number 26 Mari Buskova in this second round of the competition. Well, let's talk about basketball. Russell Westbrook will stay in California as he has opted to sign for the Los Angeles Clippers. Westbrook's time at the LA Lakers came to an end before the trade deadline as he was used as part of a deal with the Utah Jazz. The 2017 NBA MVP struggled to rediscover his previous form after joining the Lakers in 2021, but has another chance to prove himself in LA with the Clippers. Westbrook's agents confirmed his client has chosen the Clippers as his next team once he and the Jazz have finished negotiations of buying out the remaining £47 million owed on his deal. Westbrook made a name for himself with the Oklahoma City Thunder, including his standout performance at the 2016-17 season when he averaged 31.6 points per game in the regular season with 81 appearances, as well as 10.7 rebounds and 10.4 assists. But finally, from football, Graham Potter, Chelsea manager, still has the support of chairman Todd Boehly and the club's board despite their poor run of form. The Blues have won just 2 of their past 14 games in all competitions and were beaten by a goal to nil in the Premier League by strugglers Southampton on Saturday. Potter was appointed in September last year following the sacking of Thomas Tuchel. However, Chelsea's owners have made it clear that hiring Potter was part of a long-term project. It is felt that the team needs an opportunity to gel after a rebuild that has seen £583 million spent on the new players in the past 2 transfer windows, but 8 new signings and arriving in January. It's also recognized an unprecedented injury crisis has contributed to Graham Potter's difficult circumstances at Chelsea. Well, that's the story from there. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll have Gladys join the conversation, and together we'll do justice to what's in the plate. Please stick around. Right back in a jiffy.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abuse. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also really murder Abiola. Who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in course of them.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa.
Up-to-date information on topical issues affecting the education, health, lifestyle, and so much more. Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Anyekan every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
my name is Blyden Rukem, and it's a wonderful Tuesday. I don't know how it's within your vicinity and area, but it's exciting here, and the boys are ready. Well, these days, it seems like the men are hungry. Marizona has been around for company for a while, Mari. So good to see you this morning.
Yeah, Blyden, I think the man is hungry. Really hungry. Well, definitely hungry for action, particularly. It's good to be back, by the way. Fantastic.
I'm probably hungry for both.
Yeah, hungry for
action and inaction.
Yeah, definitely. But it's a hunger. That's what matters, actually. It's a fine morning to be back, Blyden. A lot to talk about this morning. The UEFA Champions League returns later tonight. That's something that should give me some happiness, some joy, particularly. And then, you know, some tournaments in the Middle East, one in Dubai, one in Qatar. Fantastic stuff. It's good to be back, Blyden.
Well, so good to be back. Let's quickly move and see what's happening in the world of tennis and go straight to Dubai. It's the Dubai Duty Free Open, and some of the big names are doing that magic. Well, today, Iga Swiatek will be taking on Leylah Fernandez. But let's begin with Elena Rybakina. Elena Rybakina against Andreescu Bianca. Decent win it was, Marizona. Not expected from different angles, but it had to be a stretch. But that first win in the round of 32 in the 1000 Masters speaks volume. That's where it starts from, and that's where the energy is.
Yeah, some steeliness from the reigning Wimbledon champion, Rybakina, particularly fantastic. And then we've seen her form, her rise from Wimbledon last year to the US Open final, where she got to the final. Sadly, she lost at the competition to Sabalenka, but she's been quite a fantastic performer. Her power game has been her stronghold at 40. She puts in so much power into her games, and then she gets to win, you know, as much as possible. You look at her opponents, Bianca Andreescu, not been the biggest of names since 2019 when she won the US Open. It's been a downturn in terms of form for her. Talk about Bianca Andreescu, but holistically, it was always going to be Rybakina, because you look at current form, Rybakina has been a fantastic player the past couple of months, and that's basically why we're seeing her getting this one in the bag. And I think for Rybakina, it should be about chasing Iga Swiatek and the rest of them for that top 2, top 3 spot, particularly because we saw her performance in England and she did particularly very well. Never was given a chance, but she went all the way, won the competition. At the UFC Open, she went to the final. Sadly, she couldn't win it, but she showed that level of class and dominance, and that should be the conversation for Rybakina. I think the onus is on her right now to take this consistency to the remaining 3 Grand Slams of the year.
Well, she moved to the next round and facing Maria Bouzkova. And good opportunity for her to get the numbers, get to the round of 16. Yeah. But let's leave Rybakina, who's the 9th-seeded player in this competition now, and look at the big one that's happening today. It's Leylah Fernandez. Had a decent win in the first round of the competition, but Leylah now is taking on Iga Swiatek. Iga Swiatek is back after winning the tournament in Doha, and she's now back in the Dubai duty-free tournament, and probably could be another extension for her.
Yeah, definitely. For Leylah Fernandez, first up, I saw her at the 221 US Open final. Fantastic performer, youngster who was ready and eager to make a name for herself. She's been a good performer. But you look at current form, particularly for Fernandez, it's not the best for her. She's had a series of losses, some back-to-back losses and all of that. And then look on the other side, she's facing one of the, if not the biggest women's tennis player right now, number one, Iga Swiatek. Despite not getting, you know, the US Open in the bag, but she won the competition in Doha just last week and was a dominant win all through to the final, dropping just 1 game all through to that final. So it shows you quality, and it shows you the seeming chasm between Swiatek and this other side and Leylah Fernandez here. Fernandez particularly, she's just trying to get herself back on track. She's going through what I would call a resurgence, a rejuvenation of, if you like. But for Swiatek, it's been a case of gradually, consistently getting in this win. So you look at current form, it's going to be difficult for Fernandez to defeat Swiatek.
Best lady to get a job in the bag, and it had to be Iga Swiatek all the time. Quite open, but she's already started at Doha winning the title. And what's happening in Brazil? It had to be a name. Home favorite, Thiago Monteiro, having a decent win against a former champion, Dominic Thiem. For a while, we used to call Dominic Thiem the Prince of Clay. But these days, not quite doing well in clay courts.
Yeah, the Prince of Clay is getting very old. You know, but you know, the funny thing is the King of Clay is still in the game, so he remains.
Well, the King of Clay injured.
Yeah, he's injured, but not retired yet, so he remains. Thiem remains the Prince of Clay, particularly. But
probably we've seen a new prince, Carlos Alcaraz.
Well, Carlos Alcaraz is not just Prince of Clay for me. Carlos is Prince of Tennis right now, Prince of the ATP, because I mean he's the youngest, biggest talents right now. But that's, by the way, talk about Monteiro, not the biggest of names. If you look at, you know, the build up to this particular game, you'd say Dominic Thiem should get this win because Thiem was more in Brazil. But you look at Monteiro, I mean he's one of the top seeded Brazilian players in this country. I think the scoreline not entirely depicts the game because Monteiro was good. That was a meeting in a competitive match, and Monteiro gets, you know, the set, and I think
was able to be combative in the third set, winning with true break points.
It was a fantastic performance from this particular man. So I love what I'm seeing. And then he never with the kind of quality we saw him perform last week to get this win in the bag. So I think it'll be
pointing games for some of the superstars, especially the likes of Lorenzo Musetti, who was a two-set win. Stretch set it was 6-4, 6-1.
Myself, and I was like, it was like Jari was Musetti and Musetti was Jari on paper.
Especially when it has to be stretch sets.
On tour was fantastic. You know, if you want to mention Takaras, maybe Hojerun or Jali Sebe, you talk about Musetti, you know, the man who got the victory over him, Jari. It was a fantastic performance for him.
Result in the first round, not just Bublik, there was also Stan Wawrinka. Stan Wawrinka, in recent times, especially in the opening rounds, of 87 years of age, but it's not stopping him from doing dominance in Marseille. First round win and throw for the likes of Bublik and Stan Wawrinka.
This was his first tour level win of the season, and it meant a lot for the man because it was quite a tricky encounter. 2 hours plus, you know, it took him to get this particular win. So it shows you how much of you know, a competition, a contest it was. Competition. You talk about Stanislas Wawrinka, not the best of names recently, injuries, poor form and all of that. He participated in this competition, you know, for the first time 15 years ago. So he's a regular here, but sadly he's not been able to make it, you know, and that's due to injury concerns, the fact that he's not participated at top level over time. So that's the conversation. But we saw him win yesterday and it was fantastic. But the conversation would be consistency. How can you guarantee that?
Well, the conversation is always going to be consistency and what you get to guarantee moving forward. But the big lads are doing the magic and showing the class what they need to do in order to. One will go on a short break. When we return, it will be football stories all the way and all around the world. Today is the UEFA Champions League and big one.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by across them. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria police force, which shall be administered,
enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked
the evidence in our matter.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Welcome back to Football Stories. But before we track football stories making rounds around the world, let's look. He says he wants to stay still in LA. He's not moving away from LA. He wants to join the Clippers, the LA Lakers. And now he wants to join the Clippers. On Wednesday, there was a deal.
UT Jazz, but right now, UT Jazz, you know, the Clippers ready to buy out, you know, the $47 million agent. You know, he's going to be moving and he's joining the Clippers right now. Well, you know, from an analytic perspective, I think it's quite sad. The Lakers are going through a decline. And this move is going to even take them even, for their poor form. The fans had hopes that maybe if these players regroup at the end of the season to come back, next season, things are going to get better. But when you're losing your key players, although Westbrook has not been the best of names since winning the MVP back in 2017, it's been a downturn in form for him, but he's a quality player. Look at his performance this season. He's not started so many games for the Lakers. He's come off the bench more often than always, but it doesn't change the fact that he's a quality player. He's a big name player, and when he gets into your team around those two players, you need somebody a lot more younger.
Some trades during the exchange.
Well, I saw the names. They've not performed yet, despite the big names coming in. D'Angelo Russell and the rest of them, they still do not look convincing for me.
Well, and it would be the one that's always on the bench.
I would prefer letting off Anthony Davis, because you look at the stats this season. Despite coming off the bench most games, Westbrook has got more stats, more numbers than Anthony Davis. Davis, secondly, is injury prone, hasn't got the numbers as performances. So keep Westbrook, keep LeBron James, sell off Anthony Davis, bring in somebody else that helps. Davis would not guarantee consistency, sadly. So that's the conversation. And then secondly, it even gets worse because they're heading to their local rivals, and we know the rivalry between the Lakers and the Clippers over the past couple of years. So imagine, when Westbrook comes in,
than the LA Lakers side.
Even without Westbrook.
According to Westbrook, he did talk about a possibility of going to the championship, getting to win titles.
Yeah,
but the
badly. They sit around the top 6.
They're not doing badly comparatively to the Lakers.
Definitely. The Lakers
comparatively with the best in NBA, they're not up there.
That's the truth, particularly. You look at the Clippers, Westbrook to your team makes a lot of sense. Partners with the likes of Paul George, and then, he was Paul George's teammate back at OKC, some 2016 to set up in the playoffs. And secondly, the fact that the Clippers are somehow favorite to get the title. So, but this is a dent on the quality and the ambition of the Lakers. I wonder what they'll do from here.
Well, basketball has eaten a lot into our football time, but we get to talk about football now and see what's happening in the world of football. It's Victor Osimhen, a name we fully Eintracht Frankfurt this today. That's the game we're looking forward to, Arizona. Big name, big player, big expectations. The more you perform, the more the pressure comes.
Goals. He's been in the best of form this particular year. Fantastic stuff. 18 in 19 games. Although he has just one goal in the Champions League with the UEFA Champions League. Frankfurt are not that glamorous of teams, although they look decent. Lots of that should count for something.
Finished second in Group D to Tottenham Hotspur.
If you put Napoli and Eintracht Frankfurt, Osimhen has been a key feature of that team. So I think he comes in, scores 2-3 goals in this particular game, for this Napoli side. I'm expecting him to be, is the attacking combination which would score and promise a lot of goals going forward too. Napoli for me will get the win, and Osimhen should also score goals.
Well, I think the Nigerian, you're also speaking in this one.
Well, you can't separate me from that.
Especially when I see a team that's won the Europa League. We saw them beat Barcelona last season, and this season you've talked about it. That form is decent. Going to this match, they're not decent striker.
For them. Fine striker. They've got Daichi Kamada, the Asian man who is fantastic, up front. But then, in as much as they're good, we're talking Napoli particularly. So the form is red hot right now. So I don't think that Eintracht Frankfurt are match enough right now to hold off this Napoli. Secondly, Victor Osimhen, with the kind of form he is right now, he's going to score 2 goals in this game. I bet you, Blyden.
Well, I'm not sitting in this one. Napoli winning Eintracht Frankfurt in this particular game.
Absolutely.
But the big story in England would be a shocking one for many. If there's a marriage made in heaven, what has been the result of this marriage, Arizona? Chelsea have, Southampton gets to beat Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. It speaks volume about how weak the team is.
Yeah.
And the owner of the club says, I'm still fine with the coach. But Graham Potter. I
would love to be, quite in the middle, objective here. First up,
let's see the objective marry then.
That's the thing. Graham Potter, a young manager, his biggest job was Brighton in the Premier League, came to Chelsea, and then before he came to Chelsea, well, that's the conversation. That's why he's signing players for 8 years, 7 years, 6 years, 5 years. So poor form is also a thing. But of course, if you want to build something that's going to stand the test of time, something that's going to be sustainable, you have to be ready to, to endure poor form, poor run, struggles particularly because of where you're going to. So I think that's the conversation.
Is that the objective marry now?
Todd Boehly, yes.
Let's hear.
No, I think, Todd Boehly came in. Yes, it's difficult because first up, he's getting 15 players across 2 transfer windows assigned on a long term. They are signed to work with Graham Potter, the manager, for a long term. Graham Potter never had any preseason. That's a thing because you cannot just expect these players to hit the ground running at Chelsea. They need to blend. They need integration. And that's a key problem for Chelsea. Secondly, Chelsea needs to overhaul.
When Lampard was sacked, previous season, Thomas Tuchel came in.
It's not Graham Potter. Coaches need different systems and different strategies to get to win games. You know, there are coaches that would never come to a team mid-season.
Well, I wouldn't wait for the emotional Mari and the longer Marizona. Let me ask this.
Yeah.
Let me ask this.
Yeah.
Based on what Graham Potter's offered Chelsea so far,
yeah,
are there signs of...
Leiden, first up, I don't think Chelsea, yes, they're bad. Yes, they're going through wrong form right now, but I don't think Chelsea would go to relegation. Here's why. They've got quality.
When is the last time they won a game?
I think it was a couple of weeks ago, but it doesn't matter, Blyden. Let's not talk about that. Here's the thing, Blyden. You don't actually need to see visible proof yet. Give Graham Potter some time. He gets to understand the quality of these players, now perform at the best way possible. So in as much as there's a little bit of bad energy at Chelsea, we're seeing some signs of improvement. And I think that if Graham Potter...
What are the
three names? Enzo Fernandez.
What has he done?
Bernard Badashile. These players are raw quality. Now, all they need...
Football that says, the more you lose games or not having a decent result, it affects the mentality of the side. And in the long run, they get even worse.
Blyden, Liverpool. There's signs at Chelsea. There's Mikel Modric at Chelsea. You know, there's players at Chelsea who are the visible signs. All they need is integration.
Most of these players were Modric.
Yeah.
Mikel Modric that Chelsea went for. Yeah. And then Mikel Modric we're seeing in recent times and playing for Chelsea. Which is a better Mikel Modric?
David Datro Fofana, right? We never knew him. He's come to Chelsea.
Has he scored a goal?
He hasn't yet, but we saw some glimpse of brilliance, Blyden. That's the conversation.
Mari, you know, so I think this some time ago, he says, when a big team starts losing games or stops winning games, but they're delighted about having good performance, even when the result
are not the players are not happy that they're losing games. No player will be happy for losing games. They're not happy.
What's the problem of Chelsea? Who's the problem of Chelsea?
It's a problem of integration, Blyden, blending. There's no time. That's the truth, because Graham Potter has to sit down and find a philosophy. That's what we're talking about preseason. Now, Liverpool, before the World Cup, was struggling. At the World Cup, they went for a preseason tournament. Played well. Right? Look at Liverpool right now. They've won back-to-back games. They look decent. That's because, you know, that small time give them energy. You know,
who were injured. It's no preseason.
How many of them have scored? It's still Cody Gakpo, Darwin Núñez, still scoring.
Teamwork, Mari. I digress. Let's not to this. Could it be the problem of sacking Graham Potter is the 5-year deal he's got?
No.
Todd Bodley is thinking, I'm going to pay this man a huge amount of money.
Well, here's the thing. How much did he spend on Badashile? The money's there, Blyden.
Okay, the money's there.
It's a thing of patience.
Let's leave Chelsea and talk about who's about to get another money. It's the youngster. The youngster at Manchester United. Attitude. But these days, he's been quite dominant. United about to give him a 5-year deal. An improved deal from an academy player to a first-team player these days. Quality, direct and trickery.
I mean, he can dribble, he's got pace, and he's gradually building up his finishing, which makes a lot of sense for me. So I think this is the wisest decision from United. Keep this man on the long term. He promises Garnacho, watch him play youngster. I mean, imagine playing ahead of likes of Marcus Rashford, Anthony Martial, Anthony Elanga, Jadon Sancho.
Sorry, you made a mistake. Ahead of Rashford. The bench is just on the bench for different purpose. He's the most informed player at Manchester United.
But before all of this talk of Rashford being informed, Rashford was at some point sat on the bench and Garnacho started games. It's a fact, right? So
teenager with attitude.
Yeah.
But these days, when he dribbles, they
point out 1, 2, 3 problems that the team did not solve, and then that's the mentality. You know, he does
elite mentality.
Shows you
not what's happening at the other side of the bridge.
Well, let's not talk about that, Blyden. Let's not drag anybody into all of this. But Garnacho,
what are the potentials like for Garnacho?
I think the future is bright. It all relies on the youngster and how he makes what he makes of his career. But I think ordinarily, looking at it from paper and from a broader perspective, he's got a lot of potential. He's dribbling.
Let's talk about one more game and what's happening in this one. It's going to be Liverpool against Real Madrid. 9 months after the final, which Real Madrid defeated, many people would always say, or there's always a slogan at Anfield that says, you will never walk alone. These days, that slogan sounds like one of the track songs of Davido because it doesn't hold walk alone. Teams begin to have goosebumps. But come on, now they sound like one of those tracks in the music.
Well, Blyden, I'm a Davido fan, and I wouldn't let you sit here and talk about my favorite.
It wasn't about
football. Look at current form for both teams. They're struggling. Madrid have dropped loads of points at the La Liga, losing grounds on the title race to Barca. The old Liverpool play against Everton, and of course against Newcastle. And
yeah, big win against Newcastle, 2-0.
Particularly 2-0. And
sadly, David Núñez won't be part of this mix because
last 2 games for Liverpool should be particularly fantastic for the team later today. I think it's a fairly open game for both sides. Real Madrid are not the best of teams right now, but first up is the mentality they take into Champions League games. They were not the favorites last season, but they won it. So, and that's the mentality they've taken to that team, and that should be the conversation too. But I think it's an open game. It will be bent on who scores more goals,
who makes a difference for either side.
Well, it's a thing. Sadly, it's a thing. It's a thing, you know, and it goes beyond just football. Particularly, it's a thing, and I hope it gets it for Liverpool. It should be Mohamed Salah. He's always going to be the X factor for Liverpool. Sadly, he's not been a key performer consistently this season, but I think in games like this, he has to show why he was kept. And Sadio Mane, Madrid still has quality. You know, there's Luka Modric there. There's Camavinga. There's Federico Valverde in the team. They can even Fabinho, old legs, Thiago Alcantara, Basetic, youngster, quite inexperienced, and then this is the Champions League.
Who wins it for you, Mari?
Well, I think it's Real Madrid.
Can they walk alone this time? Or it will be the same old story. You will never walk alone. Well, time will tell when we get back tomorrow against Real Madrid, the champions. That's where we draw the curtain on today's edition of To Eat Afterwards.
The key word is hungry.
Okay.
Definitely.
Thank you for watching. We're always hungry.